got a lot of extra people laid this weekend.
It is true. It's literal science.
This is our 100th episode, and we wanted to put together
the best weight loss tips from the amazing guests we've had.
I've seen my body completely change from lifting weights.
I can't decide who had more of a crush on her arms, you or me.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to try and get to this goal. Why are you turning to food? That was my question.
The most powerful thing you can do right now.
I hate this bullshit. Diets do not fail.
It's one of our best episodes, and she's really fighting a good fight.
Chronic stress is the biggest threat, I think.
Jamie gets a lot of hate sometimes in the comments on this, but the message was really important, right?
I might not like big legs, but that's cool. You do you.
Isn't it wild? We've talked for over 99 hours. We just narrowed it down, the things you really need to know.
And honestly, if you take one action out of each one of them, you'll start to see such positive changes.
Without further ado.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Stacey.
And this is the Body Smart Podcast.
And we are women's weight loss experts on a mission to help you feel in control of your health and your weight for good.
You may have noticed we look and sound a little bit different, and that's because this is our 100th episode, and we wanted to put together a special episode for you guys, a bit of a TLDR of the 100 episodes we've done, and give you some value-packed action tips on what you can do to lose weight and keep it off for life.
Isn't it wild that we've got to 100 episodes though?
It is crazy. It's 100 episodes. It's quite a commitment, but it's been good fun. We've had some fantastic guests on, and we've had a good laugh doing it, and excited to do 100 more.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked for over 99 hours about health, weight loss, nutrition, and as you said, we can definitely talk for 99 more. So yeah, you'll be pleased to know that we've just narrowed it down, the things you really need to know for this episode. So we've actually gone through and handpicked, well, we haven't, we have to give some credit to Jess, our editor. She's gone through and picked the best weight loss tips from all of the amazing guests we've had over the last couple of years. And without further ado, we're going to go into one that happens all the time. We hear this so many times a week from ladies who message us, from clients. And we're talking on this particular episode about calorie deficit and the situation where you're eating 1,200 calories, but you're not losing weight, even though supposedly your maintenance is 2,200 calories. And this one, we got so many comments and reactions because I feel like everybody's been there.
My maintenance is 2,200 calories. I'm only eating 1,200 calories, but I'm not losing weight.
There's always typically two things that is going on when somebody's saying, like, I'm eating on this calorie goal and I'm not losing weight. One is the calorie goal you've been given is incorrect, which can happen. Like, calorie calculators aren't 100% accurate, but like the more common one is that people are just tracking the food inaccurately. So we spoke about this in the last episode, which is people can be eating between 50 and 100% more calories than they believe. So you believe you're eating 1,200 calories, but if we were actually, there's actually this thing called what is it, like double labelly water.
Yeah.
And we've shared the BBC documentary a while ago. I think it was of like Debbie, and she was like, convinced that she was eating like 1,400 or 1,500 calories. They done a double labelly water. Let's just call it that until Sai gets the real name. And she was eating like 3,000, and she was shocked. She thought, I've got a slow metabolism. It's me. And she was like, God, I guess I can't use that excuse anymore. And then when I just followed around, she just like didn't track before she ate. There was loads of foods that she just counted inaccurately.
Didn't weigh the food.
Didn't weigh the food. And then also like food packaging can be out by 20 to 30%. So you have something that says 200 calories and it could be 240, 260. Yeah. So all of those things combined, this lady might believe, or somebody might believe, that they're eating 1,200 calories and it's like actually 2,400. So that's like really infuriating to hear sometimes. But I just try and take that frustration and be like, okay, like maybe I just need to look at this more closely, because if you are eating 2,400 calories, there's probably loads of things that you're actually having that like are not that satiating or that
you're not going to
filling.
miss that much.
Yeah, so if you can actually just make changes and you are maintaining on 2,200, you can put yourself in a deficit of 1,700 calories a day, and probably those extra foods that you weren't even accounting for probably were more calorie dense. And probably weren't like the smartest food choices. So you could probably eat more food on 1,700 calories, 500 less than you were currently on, and start losing weight.
Yeah. And just to point out, when we're saying like you're not capturing everything in your tracking, is perfectly normal. I'm tracking my food at the moment to keep an eye on my protein, and I didn't track before I ate yesterday because it was busy. We were in and out of here recording, and I got to the end of the day, I was like, I've only eaten 800 calories. That's a bit weird. I woke up this morning, I was like, oh no, I had hummus and breadsticks and I had a Lucozade Sport and I had 4 Haribos. But I just completely forgotten them.
Yeah.
I was sat there like racking my brain of like, I'm sure I haven't eaten that little. No, I must have done, and put my phone down.
Yeah.
And I know how to track properly and I'm conscious of my food intake and I still forget.
It happens. Like it happens to so many people. And I would say like, I'm not going to say 100. I'm going to say 98 or 99% of clients that come to Body Smart track the food inaccurately. So if you're listening and that's you, who's thinks you're on this amount of calories, but your maintenance says it's this, just like I would say categorically, you are not tracking your food correctly, and that is the opportunity to get you to start losing weight again.
And I've had clients like this in this situation before, and they get so angry about the fact, like, it's not, I'm eating 1,200 calories. I'm like, okay, we have 2 choices. We can go on in the rest of your life thinking that you have to eat 1,200 calories to maintain your weight. And that is going to be what you believe for the rest of your life. And if you then believe that, you believe that you have to eat 700 calories to lose weight. Or we can get to the bottom of it and you can find out, like, what do I actually get to eat when I'm at maintenance?
Yeah.
Because if you found out, like, oh, do you know what? I can actually eat 1,600 calories when I'm in a deficit, and I can eat 2,300 calories when I'm maintaining my weight. That's a much nicer way to live the rest of your life. But it does mean that you have to, like, look in the mirror right now and challenge yourself a little bit.
100%.
Next up, we've got Annie, who was an amazing guest. She's 53 years old, was absolutely amazing. I'm sure Stacey will agree, and it's got some fantastic arms.
Yeah, so like I can't actually decide who had more of a crush on her arms, you or me. But yeah, in this clip, we're basically talking about the fact that she spent years working really hard to get this physique that she thought she was doing all the right things, and it wasn't until she started lifting weights she actually got those amazing arms. So it's a must listen. If you're trying to do all the right things to look a certain way, Annie's got the secret to looking that way.
I've seen my body completely change in 3 years from lifting weights. Absolutely. Before that, you know, I'm doing all these exercises. My body really didn't change much, I'll be honest. So my muscle mass was quite low, and I was always wanting this toned look, you know, and I was just not achieving it.
And that's what people want, isn't it? They want tone, but what they actually mean is muscle.
Yes, it's muscle. To get that toned look, it's muscle. They have to build muscle. Yep.
Like if we took a picture of your arm right now.
My arm.
That's literally what people want. Because, you know, we have clients come to us and say, oh, I just always wear like sleeves that cover my arms because I just hate my arms. Yeah. And actually, if you told them, well, we're going to build muscle on your arms, a lot of them are like, well, I don't want them to get bigger. They're already an area that I dislike. And actually, if we could just take a screen grab of your arm and say, this is what lifting weights will do to your arm.
Oh my goodness.
That's exactly what people want, actually.
Yeah.
But there's this mismatch between expectation and reality of lifting weights, I think.
There's a real myth of, you know, for women, they believe that if they start lifting, they're going to suddenly like, boom, be like the Incredible Hulk. But they're not going to be like that. And you're only going to build lean muscle, and you're going to tone up quicker.
Yeah.
Right? But with that, your metabolism increases. And so I've got I'm 53, I'm 54 on the 1st of June. So I've got a metabolic age of 36. So I'm lucky enough to have access to this wonderful machine at my gym that tells me all this information. So,
okay. So what does that mean?
It just means that my body is aging at a younger rate. So my body is at age 36, whereas my chronological age is 53.
Yeah.
So,
because normally after age 30, people will lose muscle if they don't train specifically to retain or grow muscle.
Yes.
And so just to explain to the audience, your metabolism is how much energy basically you use each day. And so if you don't do any training and you from 30 to 40, then 40 to 50, the amount of energy your body needs every day is just going to keep going down. Which is why a lot of people say, well, you know, as you get older, you put weight on because they eat the same amount, but their body needs less. And so obviously you have worked hard to gain muscle, which is very hungry tissue.
It's always hungry.
Yeah, and
exactly.
so that means actually you need to burn more fuel every day just to exist.
definitely.
And so you get to eat more, which is a
It's
win.
great. Yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. I mean, you know, my friends can't believe how much I eat, to be honest.
Yeah, my friends are the same.
And my husband, he's like, really? I
Yeah.
probably eat more than him.
Yeah.
But my whole health has improved. You know, prior to 50, I would always be getting chest infections, shingles. I was really not in a healthy way, actually. There was always something wrong.
So the next clip that we've picked is another guest that I had a bit of a girl crush on, which is Professor Annice Mukherjee, and she's an endocrinologist. She's got loads of experience working with metabolism disorders, and she really cut the BS on like all the BS basically that women are trying to deal with and why weight management is so freaking hard.
Yeah, she's the hormone doc on Instagram, and it's one of our best episodes. Our values align so much with Annice's, and she's really fighting the good fight of just wanting to get, you know, evidence-based information out there and really empower women to get the results they're looking for.
Yeah, and the thing I love about her as well is she's very real. Like, she talks in this clip about all the things that people are trying to juggle, and like, is it any wonder that our bodies are screaming out and going like, supposedly our hormones are haywire? Well, yeah, no shit. So definitely give it a listen, because she gets it, but she's also going to give some practical tips of like what you can do about it. And it's not just go and meditate.
Chronic stress over decades is the biggest threat, I think, to our modern lifestyles. So a lot of people say to me, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm not sleeping. You know, this happens with premenstrual disorders, perimenopause, thyroid problems, burnout syndromes, all sorts of fatigue type illnesses that I look after. And, you know, people say, but I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go and, I don't want healthy food. I'm craving sugar. Actually, if your cortisol level is through the roof chronically, your brain is saying starvation is coming. It's telling you to eat sugar. So self-compassion, understanding if you're craving that chocolate because you're stressed or because you've got a hangover or whatever, understanding that and saying, look, this is okay, but I need to think about this going forward and maybe try and do things so that I don't feel so exhausted.
I think that's huge. I think for me, explaining that to clients, that it feels something you can't fight because it is your body trying to look after you. When you understand that, it feels a lot easier to be kind to yourself about it, because otherwise I feel like so many women are angry with themselves or ashamed that, why can't I be strong? Why can't I avoid the sugar? But you're fighting millions of years of biology here.
Yeah.
So if you can understand that and take the shame away, but like you said, take a step back and say, okay, how do I not fight my biology? How do I change things so that we're both on the same page? That's the way forwards.
And what I say is, if you, on that day when you're feeling, you're in a slump, you're exhausted, just small, tiny things, like just actually going and seeing daylight. Daylight is incredible, and there's lots of research on it.
Loads,
but yet these natural things, people go, what do you mean going out and seeing the daylight in the morning might be good for my sleep at night or reduce my stress? But it actually, there's quite a lot of research on it. And so if you're feeling like that, just going, even if you can't face going for a walk around the block, I say just go for a walk around the block 5 minutes, or sit in the garden,
with a cup
sit
of tea.
outside, sit on the wall of your. It doesn't, but just get some. And actually, it's kind of an everyday mindfulness thing if you get outside, because you're sort of in the present, and that helps with you know, how you're feeling, your mood, your energy. These are small things, but if you can build them into your everyday life in small amounts, it's easier to make those changes.
Women carry so much, and you do see that, like nowadays you will see a woman who's working not just 40, maybe had to commute onto that 50 hours a week, is managing a couple of kids, does the majority of the household, runs the household, is maybe looking after 1 or 2 sick parents, you know, and it's just, and then there's maybe some of the things, like there's a season in work where a project's really busy, and it's like when you could just compound all of that on, there is no time. Like, it feels like there is no time.
It does.
From the second I get up to the second I go to bed, I'm either looking after the kids, in my job, driving here, doing this, and there feels like there is no time. And like you're saying, like when these women speak to you, you're not surprised because of how much they're putting on. But I would go as far with some people, like they feel like that's the expectation, that they should be able to carry all of this. Like, is that something common that you see? And like, what do you advise if that's the case?
And what I often say is, you won't be able to sustain this. So if you really want to be everything to everyone around you, you want to be, you know, the best form of yourself at work, your best mother, the best daughter, the best partner, whatever, you know, you won't sustain it, and then you'll get ill, and then you won't be able to do those things. So if you really want to be everything to everyone, you got to start looking after yourself.
Annice, as you can see in that clip, sums up perfectly why it's so important to manage your stress, not just for weight loss, but for your overall health. And next up, we've got about eating 30 to 50 grams of protein with every meal. And I'm sure everyone sees this all the time, like, how am I meant to get that much protein in your diet? But you can, and this clip is going to really show you how.
Yeah, and I think if you have seen it everywhere before, it can feel a bit intimidating. So bulletproof steps to plan your meals out and foods to include. This is going to help you out with a bit of a head start.
Eat 30 to 50 grams of protein with each meal.
Yes, which I think a lot of people like, how much?
I mean, it does sound a lot as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I have got a little list here of easy options because people do often ask us, like, how am I supposed to do that? So 1 chicken breast easily would get you into that. A 3-egg omelette with some cheese on toast.
Okay, yeah, cheese on toast, yeah.
But cheese in the omelette.
Cheese in the omelette, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could just have the cheese separate if you wanted to.
Yeah, why not?
But obviously, some people don't eat meat, and
Yeah.
that is a question that we get asked a lot. So, you know, eggs, dairy, Greek yogurt, 250 grams of 0% Greek yogurt gets you up there. A 4-ounce steak.
Yeah.
So these are not like crazy bodybuilder meals that you need to hit that 30 to 50 grams of protein. And the other thing as well is to think about every meal through the day, because if you leave this all till dinner, then it is going to be like, oh my God, all I'm doing is eating meat and I'm sick of it.
Yeah, and I've done that before. It's not fun.
Which is why I wanted to include those options of like the omelette and the Greek yogurt. And, you know, it can be something that fits into any meal of the day when you make it a conscious choice. So when you're planning your meals, I always recommend to plan your protein option first and then everything else around it.
Yeah.
So when you're planning your lunch, rather than going, oh, I'm going to have a salad today, or I'm going to have a sandwich today, think, right, I'm going to have chicken today. How am I going to have my chicken? I'm going to have it in a wrap, or I'm going to, you know.
Salad,
yeah. And that means you bring protein to the forefront of your decision making.
Yeah, and like getting enough protein in your diet, the reason can be so important is it's really satiating, so it's going to keep you fuller for longer. It has a high thermic value, so you're going to burn more calories just by having a higher protein diet. So literally burning more calories off eating more protein, and it's going to aid massively in, you know, muscle recovery. So that's going to play a huge part if you're doing any sort of resistance training or wanting to build muscle.
Yeah, and just to bring it back to that thermic effect of food, it is huge. So you briefly explained how that plays into your metabolism at the beginning of the episode. But if we think about how much energy you actually burn when you eat protein.
It's about 20 to 30%.
Yeah, I was just checking. It is literally 30% of the calories that you eat in protein, you burn breaking that protein down.
Yeah. So, and again, it depends on what sort of sources and stuff, but yeah, you're looking at 20 to 30%. So, you know, you eat a couple of hundred calories in protein, you know, you're burning a lot of that on the thermic effect of food. So this comes into the part where people are like, all calories aren't created equal. And it's like, no, they are. Like a calorie is a unit of heat, energy. Saying a calorie isn't a calorie is saying like a mile isn't a mile. What you could look at with a mile, you could be like, hey, I'm going to run a mile, but I can run a mile on different terrain. I can run a mile up and down hills. I can run a mile on an incline. So there's all different ways you can run a mile, but a mile is still a mile in distance. And it's the same for calories. A calorie is still a unit of heat energy. How that calorie is used inside the body can be very different. And that's when it comes down to things like the thermic effect of food or fiber or other foods like that. So yes, having a higher protein diet literally speeds up your metabolism, keeps you fuller for longer, helps you build and retain muscle. It's like it's a very, very important macronutrient.
Next up, we've got a fantastic clip with Martin McDonald, who is the CEO and founder of Mac Nutrition and is a big component of evidence-based diets. And I'm following everything evidence-based.
People always want that quick fix, right? People always want to know what's the quickest way to get to their goal. But I think why this clip is so interesting and it's worth taking a listen is, yes, it works. Like, yes, calorie deficits can be aggressive and it might not backfire in the way you think it will. But actually how you go about losing your weight makes a big difference to whether you keep that weight off.
That's where the world fails. If diets do not fail, like I hate this bullshit about 95% of diets to fail. That's not evidence-based. Essentially, the research does not support any of these contentions that rapid fat loss is uniquely bad. So what I will essentially say is like provide me lots of different things of why you think dieting in a greater calorie deficit would be a negative thing. So you get people saying, well, you'll be more hungry, so you'll binge, or be more hungry. Then another one might be, it'll ruin your relationship with food, so you'll end up with binging tendencies. Or you'll have low energy, or your social life will be impacted, etc., etc., etc. And then I'll say, which of these things is unique to a larger calorie deficit? None of them. And what's actually the case is, and then I essentially put up data from lots and lots and lots of studies comparing moderate calorie deficits to maybe larger to very, very, so within the research there's something called a very low energy diet. And we're talking 400 calories a day.
Wow. In
someone who weighs 80 to 100 kilograms or more. Mm-hmm. We're talking something that's absolutely the antithesis of what the fitness industry would ever tell you. And I will say at this point, I am not recommending anyone to do this necessarily. But what I'm saying is, hopefully and what I will say is, these studies, what they show is people doing this very, very low energy diet report lower hunger than those on the moderate energy restricted diet. Another thing that people say is, well, you'll regain all of the weight. You'll rebound faster. You'll gain it all back.
I think it comes down to the individual, doesn't it? You know, in that sense, because for some people, if they've chronically had, and this is typically what we see with our clients, is that they will go on a diet, they will go on something that's actually typically quite aggressive in terms of like a fad or something that they've tried. Yeah. They will maybe be able to adhere to that process for 2 to 3 weeks. Their willpower will eventually give in. And they will feel like, I cannot keep this up, even to hit my weight loss goal, never mind sustain afterwards. Yeah. They revert back to old eating habits and behaviors, and the weight comes back on and off them more. So like that typically like makes it not sustainable for them. Yeah. But you can definitely have people who have maybe got a healthier relationship with food. Maybe have got a already more of an output in terms of their calorie expenditure. You can put them in a massive calorie deficit, and if it's framed as a season and something that you can go quite aggressive at, and people understand that and manage that expectation, like, yeah, you can definitely go into it and see faster results. With at least I'd say our clientele, it's not typically something that works very well.
Have the exit plan, have the lifestyle. If someone just doesn't have the habits to keep the weight off, maintain the weight loss, beforehand, there is absolutely no point almost in starting. But if they can learn those, like on this more moderate approach, improving their relationship with food, because there's no point really in getting to your end goal unless you've learned that. So sometimes that's why it's such a positive thing to do things more moderately, because you just need that longer time. You know, you were saying about it can be a bit like, let's say someone's like half to £1 a week, they need to use 70 pounds. It's like, guess what? You've got a year and a half of dieting. It's like, what? You know, they go, I'm going to do a 12-week plan. And it's like, cool. Yeah. You're like a fifth, less than a fifth, a sixth of the way there.
But actually, you need that time to reestablish your lifestyle, your habits, what food you buy when you go shopping, how you integrate exercise into your life on a daily basis. That's not going to shift in 12 weeks.
Next up, we've got the best exercises for belly fat. Everyone's like, how do I lose belly fat? How do I lose belly fat? It's such a problem area, or quote unquote problem area for so many people. But we summarize in this clip really what you need to be focusing on if you want to lose belly fat.
Yeah, and it's probably a surprise if you haven't listened to the episode. It isn't crunches. It is going to be things that you might not have thought of. There's an extra bit in this clip, which I think every woman needs to listen to, which is a hack for your posture, which can completely change how you feel about your tummy.
There are certain exercises you can do that are better for belly fat.
No. I get asked this all the time. And again, it's, logically you can think, hey, if I train that area, if I do abdominal exercises, then I'm going to be able to lose fat off that area. But that's not how the body loses fat. You basically breathe out the majority of your fat by being in a calorie or an energy deficit. And where that fat comes off is determined by your genetics. So you can typically see this sometimes in like your family. your cousins, your mum, your dad, your siblings, you can kind of see like, hey, does our family carry more weight in their legs or carry more weight on their stomach? And that just could be something that you are genetically more predisposed to holding more fat in that area. But yes, the training, whether it's your stomach or your arms or your legs, it doesn't mean that the fat will come off that area. All you can do is train in a consistent calorie deficit, and eventually the fat will come off that area.
There is obviously so many workouts out there. If you go on YouTube, like workout for belly fat.
Belly fat blitz, 5-minute belly out.
You will find pages of them, but the fact is there is no one better exercise than any other. However, you did just mention strength training.
Yes.
And what I think is often mind-blowing when I speak to clients when they're like, oh, I want to work on my belly, I'll be like, okay, we're going to do loads of squats and deadlifts. And they're like, what? Because actually what you want to do is maximize how much energy you use in the session and how much muscle you build, so you use more energy after the session. And where are your biggest muscles? In your legs and your glutes.
Yep.
So if you wanted to genuinely do the best exercise for belly fat, it's going to be the things that are going to burn the most fat, and that's going to be working those legs because they've got some big ass muscles in them.
Exactly. So yeah, your compound movements, your squats, your deadlifts, you think about them, you're hinging from the knees, you're hinging from the hips, you're using pretty much, like on a deadlift, nearly every muscle in your body. Maybe.
And you are still using your abs.
Oh, you 100%. That's one of the great things with near enough every compound movement. So a compound movement is going to be where two joints move. So either the knee and hip or the shoulder and elbow. You're likely going to be engaging your core like quite significantly. And then you can even move that. So you're doing like unilateral exercises. So let's say you do, instead of doing a squat, you do a split squat. Your core will be engaged even more, doing those exercises to keep you balanced. So your core is always being worked.
What some people see on themselves as I've got a fat lower belly and I want to change it is a lot of the time is postural as well. So if you stand with your hips tilted forwards, it kind of makes your belly stick out. And if that's the problem for you and you feel like actually I haven't got a lot of fat to lose, but I feel like I've got a fat belly, then there are some core exercises which just kind of correct that pelvic tilt and bring your core more into alignment. A lot of Pilates movements, things like dead bugs are really good for that. So that doesn't actually help you lose belly fat, but it makes your physique look different, and it's probably the look that you're after.
Yeah, and I would also say as well, like just coming back to it, like if you build more muscle, if you have more muscle in your body, but don't gain any extra like weight, or your body fat percentage goes down as proxy as well. So they're just like other things that you can do where you can have, by having more muscle, you'll have a lower body fat percentage. And if you build more muscle in certain areas, not so much your stomach, because you'd have to have like ginormous abs, but like let's say you build more muscle on your arms or on your legs, if you did carry a little bit more fat in there, that the ratio of fat to muscle can change. So you can actually look leaner at a higher body fat percentage as well.
Yeah. So you can't pick a certain exercise that's best for belly fat. No. But if you were wanting to lose belly fat, there are exercises that you might want to prioritize. They're just not what you might think.
So our next guest, Therese, she actually lost 50 pounds, around 23 kilos. So she knows what it takes to lose weight. But the reason why we really loved this clip is it's not about nutrition and exercise for most people. And it wasn't for her.
Yeah, emotional eating is something that affects probably all of our clients and all the ladies that we've worked with, and developing strategies that specifically work for you and your lifestyle is such a key skill to develop to make sure you are successful with long-term weight loss and weight maintenance.
Yeah, and I think the key with this is, it might sound a bit woo-woo, it might sound like, oh, I don't need to do that, I just need to have more motivation or willpower, but Therese really does explain, if you want to lose weight, why this is the thing, and she's got some great questions to ask yourself as well.
If you're going to the gym and you're getting your calories and your macros right, then you must be good. That's not always the case for people. You have to take time to figure out your own issues, what's going on within, and why are you turning to food? That was my question. I had to, go inwards and say, what happened today? Who triggered you today? What feeling am I feeling right now that I'm going for food? And that's kind of then when things started to shift, because I wasn't just trying to brush things under the carpet. I was like, let me actually figure out what's going on here and navigate why I'm turning to the things that I'm turning to.
And that is such a hard question to ask yourself.
It's a painful endeavor, isn't it?
Yeah. So did you do that on your own, or did you have help?
I kind of did it all on my own. Yeah.
Did you journal or?
So journaling was a massive part of my journey, and asking yourself the hard questions for sure. 100%.
Have you got a few questions that would be helpful for somebody to start with?
The very first one if it is someone that's kind of struggling with food, and I think it can be hard to differentiate at the beginning between emotional hunger and actual hunger. And like we said, if you're not educated to know the difference, it can be hard to navigate that. But you have to kind of ask yourself from a logical point of view, am I actually hungry right now? Or have I just ate and I want to keep eating for what reason? So I guess the first question would be like, am I actually hungry right now? Yes, no, kind of figure that out. And then just go into the why. Why am I, turning to food today? What happened? So I think those are my kind of first two. Try and differentiate where you're at with your relationship with food, and then ask yourself why, and then what can I do instead? So usually I think people who have emotional reliances on food don't know how to cope in another way yet.
That's fantastic. So just to rewind back a little bit, because I think it'll be really important for just people to try and understand. You're 21. You're at your heaviest. Yeah. We're in a girl's bathroom, being sick, not feeling our best. We have this moment in the mirror of like, enough's enough. And then you go on to lose 50 plus pounds. Why? Like, what were the deep reasons why? And then like, what was step one for you?
So from that moment, I think people, when they see my weight loss transformation, they immediately want to know, what was the time span between this? Like, I want to do what you did. And the first, I'd say 6 months of my journey was doing all of that work. Because I believe anyway, if you're trying to really heal your relationship with food, you have to take the emphasis off weight loss, especially if you're coming from a place of, disordered eating, or your relationship with food isn't on a good side. Try and heal that relationship first before you actually get into the weight loss. So I think my first step was, I'm going to try and get healthier. Not I'm going to try and lose weight. I'm just going to try and get healthier. So that was my first step, because I said to myself, I wanted to make it sustainable and long lasting this time. I was tired of the, losing weight, gaining it back and losing weight. I was just fed up with that, and I said, I want to just be a healthier individual. I want everyday movement to feel a little bit better. I want to look after my nutrition. I want to learn a little bit more. So that was my step one, was just saying, I want to be healthier. And then how can I start to do that? And that's through your daily habits. And that's through things that people, again, often just brush under the carpet. Can I drink a little bit more water? I'm not going to start going to the gym right now, but can I go for a walk every day? Can I start getting more fruit and vegetables? And then that's kind of then what led me into my weight loss, because then I felt ready to go into the weight loss side of things. So yeah, that's kind of step one. Have a goal, but don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Next up, we've got our very own coach, Luke, and he talks about, one of the most important changes that you can make to your health right now to reduce all-cause mortality, which sounds a little bit scary, but, if you've followed me on Instagram for any length of time, I put up all the time, how are you moving your body today, just to encourage people to move. And this is very much what this clip is about.
And also, it isn't working out every day, but you do have to move your body every day. If you don't feel like it, Luke has got some great kind of reframes and like ways of thinking about it to get yourself to do it.
Well, everyone comes in at different fitness levels. So if someone is at like, they don't exercise, they don't do anything, they've got some joint pain, like just getting moving and getting some walks in. Outdoor walks, if you can, are the best version. Activity. And like, I think people really underestimate the power of just daily activity. And I bring this graph up a lot for clients and in our group calls and community calls. And it's about going from, that 4,000 steps a day to 8,000 steps a day, and the health benefits that just there brings. And if I was going to say one thing for a client to do, it would do that. It would say, bring your steps from wherever you are. If you are 4,000 steps and under, okay, you're at high risk of all-cause mortality, disease, high blood pressure, like everything. And the most powerful thing that you can do right now isn't quitting smoking. It isn't taking this, 90 pound a month supplement. It is, none of this. It is walking, move more, get more active. The closer you get, it doesn't have to be 8,000 steps a day right away. So what it means is, if you're at 4,000 steps and under, if you can get 5,000, 6,000, or add on 500 steps this week, whatever it is, inch your way towards that 8 mark. As soon as you get to that 8 mark, that the risks of all this half.
I think
They go
that's
by
really key
50%.
as well, because 10K isn't the magic number. Actually, 8K is for
Yeah,
most
8,
people.
8.5K. And
Yeah.
you get pretty much the same health benefits and lower risk of disease than if someone's doing 16K steps a day.
Yeah, which is wild.
Start
And
there. Yeah.
it's only, if you want to break it into pockets, 10 minutes is about 1,000 steps.
Yep.
So if you think you haven't got time, have you got 10 minutes on your lunch break? Have you got 10 minutes after dinner? Like, do that a couple of times a day, and before you know it, you've got your extra
Yeah, and
4,000.
I think some people go, 8,000 steps is 80 minutes. Where am I getting 80 minutes from? But
Yes.
you already do so much of that.
Movement begets movement. And this is the thing, like things that are at rest tend to stay at rest. And that's what you don't want, because, you know, people go, I've got no energy to work out. And they don't realize, like, that's the thing you do to get energy. So what I do is sometimes with clients, I go, okay, we're not calling them workouts anymore because you're exhausted. We're going to call them energy builders. So go out and do your 30-minute energy builder. And they go, okay, yeah, that feels great. And you're not going to go out and get 10,000 steps. You're going out for a clarity walk, a mind clarity walk, okay, or just a mind rest walk. And that terminology can help them bring out of a zone of, okay, it's not a rest day. It's a recovery day. It's not a workout. It's not a beast mode. It's not something you do to punish yourself. It's something you do to gain energy. Because as soon as you start to move and your heart rate increases, your blood flow increases, your blood vessels expand, you start to get floods of hormones, adrenaline to start to wake you up. That's how you do it. And we have this fight or flight mode. If you get your heart rate to 130 BPM, like, you no longer feel tired.
That's being like a bit of a benchmark sometimes now when I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Just warm up. You feel fatigued, like just get up and do your warm up. Like, don't think about doing a whole workout. Just go, right, I'm just going to get warm and see how that feels.
Yeah.
Everyone should be doing something every day, no matter your circumstance. It is a case of, I read it the other day, which is a perfect way to put it. It's a case of personal hygiene. It's the same. You know, we use the analogy of, okay, you get up, you brush your teeth. That's your habit. You should, work out, and there isn't a compromise. And it's the same thing, exercises. And it doesn't mean you have to blast yourself every day, but something gets done. And whether that is stretching, cardio, weights, like yoga, whatever you enjoy, something has to get done every day. Because as soon as you start making compromises in that and saying, okay, a rest day, when you know you haven't really needed a rest day because you didn't really push that hard in that workout anyway, once you start making compromises, you're compromised.
Time for another incredible guest. We had Elise Rose Sternier on the podcast. She shared her story of losing 87 pounds, so 39 kilos. So again, so the woman who knows what she's talking about. The reason we wanted to include this tip as one of your must know things to lose weight is she had fallen into the trap of relying on motivation, and it didn't work. Surprise, surprise. So actually, she shared what she did instead.
Yeah, and that's, we always talk about this, is that, like, motivation's finite. It's not something that you can rely on. But if you build your life and your habits in a way where just by default you stay fit and healthy, it makes it so much easier to play the long haul of the health and fitness game.
The times when I didn't want to train and I kind of got myself up to do a workout. Times when I did just want to binge or have that mindset where I did just want to eat whatever and just binge out on chocolate and sweets. Just having that discipline. And I think there is a very thin line where you can still eat the foods that you enjoy in moderation. So I could still have like chocolates and sweets within certain quantities, but yeah, not binging and just not having kind of complete extremes.
So how did you actually do that though? Because I know what it's like once you start, how do you stop?
So a little technique what I'd done in the beginning stages was I wouldn't really tend to buy the big bags of like snacks. I'd buy the smaller multi-pack bags. And if I wanted to have like a treat, then I'd put that and then hide the rest. And even though it's not hiding because I knew it was there, in my head it kind of convinced me that that's all I was having. And even with like sweets and chocolates, I'd kind of split them into little bags. To me, that's what I needed, to just have, okay, that's all I can have today, and kind of that's all I want to have today, because if I was to have the rest and just binge, I know how bad I'd feel in myself, and I know that it's not worth it when I do have a goal.
It does make a difference. It doesn't seem like much sometimes, but just creating a little bit of friction by like, right, this is the portion I'm going to have, and then the rest of that's going at like the back of the cupboard behind something. So there's got to be like, you can't just walk into the kitchen and grab them again, or you can see them. It's those few extra steps of effort that it's almost putting extra barriers in the way of saying, no, I've intentionally done that, so I can just have this amount.
Yeah, and as well, like if you were to meal prep and stuff like that, I'd noticed that I'd suddenly get waves of hunger, and
not even I was prepared for them waves of hunger. And if I wasn't prepared with like food already, meal prep food, then that's when I'd kind of start to binge and snack and eat whatever whilst making the food. Whereas if I was to meal prep, then it was already there in the fridge. So that's all what I needed to eat. And it didn't matter what I was eating, as long as I was feeling full afterwards, then I'd kind of be like, oh, okay, that's fine.
So did you meal prep as in like for the week, or like how did you tackle it?
Yeah, just a few days. I'd start on the Sunday and then do like 3 days and then do it again.
Yeah.
So.
And would you like do every meal, or how did you plan out your week?
No, so it would be dependent on like my schedule and how much I was like studying and how much time I had. So it would kind of be the lunches, and then I'd have like leftover stuff as well that I'd just whip up for dinner. But then sometimes I'd make my dinner but make extra, so then I could just put it on a plate and then have it again the next day. But
I am such a fan of the leftover diet. That's literally, I live my life by leftovers. Because like, why would you need to cook twice when you could cook once?
Yeah, literally.
So I know we were getting to you had the 10-month goal, lost the 2 stone. So then what was that after? Because you went on to lose over 80 pounds. So what was the goals after that you set, and like how long did that next
So I don't really know the like exact time frame of each kind of goal, but it was just to kind of keep losing a stone more each time. And like with each goal, I'd kind of have an intrinsic reward. So with the first like stone that I lost, I got these AirPods and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I've still got the same AirPods now and do like sometimes use them. One of them doesn't work, but so that was because I really wanted them AirPods. So I knew that, if I have this goal in my head, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to try and get to this goal. And it doesn't kind of have to be pricey every time as well. It can just be something that you want, whether it's like a meal out or something just to keep you motivated.
So from one really inspiring woman to another, and actually if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, well, this is all very well and good, but I'm in menopause, that is why we've included Natasha's clip on this episode. So what she says totally goes to anyone as well, but the thing about Natasha is she has absolutely made menopause her bitch, and she teaches her clients to as well. And that's with her mindset, which is just do the thing.
Yeah, do the things, get it done, but also dropping that all or nothing mentality. So many of our clients have struggled with, being that perfectionist and really needing to do all the things right away. But, Natasha does a great job of just breaking it down, focusing on the small things that you can control, focusing on getting 1% better every day. And over time, you'll look back and see how much of a significant change you've made.
You don't have to have your mum's menopause, right? This is how yours can look. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. You have control, and that's what is so empowering, and that's what I'm passionate about sharing, that there are certain things that you can't control, but control the controllables. And that means making sure you do strength train. It's making sure that you do put good food in your body, but we all know that we like to, enjoy life. I mean, it would be very boring to just eat clean all of the time, and I don't profess to. It's about balance, but it's making sure that you are hitting that protein, and that's the first thing that you think about with every meal. It's making sure that you are active, that you are moving. It's non-negotiable. You've got to get your steps in. It's like paying rent. You've just got to get it done. But it doesn't have to be on a 24-hour clock, so think about that as well and be flexible. It's about the sleep, and we're all going to have those days where we don't sleep well. It happens, but also not let that knock you. You just always want to try, as you're always saying, the 1% better.
Yeah. For a lot of the women that come to you, I can imagine you having this conversation and going, but that all just sounds like so basic.
That is the problem, that I think it causes paralysis almost, because they come in most of the time, perfectionist mindset, all or nothing. They want the results yesterday, and they want to see something big and grand straight away. And trying to really, truly understand that it's slow and steady wins the race, marathon, not a sprint. And those small changes, where, so many different analogies. It's like scoring a goal but not letting a goal in. It's like it's the 1% that add up, but the 1% that you're leaking, all of that. But It's recognizing, oh, but those 1% was not worth doing. Or those licks, bites, tastes didn't really add up, but they do.
Yeah.
Both ways.
And a lot of those women are coming in and they want you to go, hey, take these supplements. You know what I mean? Like that's what it wants to be. And it's like,
do this magical workout plan.
And then it's just like, oh, right, how many steps are you doing? Oh, 3,000. Okay, let's try and get that up to 5. Okay, you doing any strength training? No, let's start doing 2 30-minute full body workouts a week. You know, let's start building out. You got any protein in your diet? Oh, like 40 grams a day. Okay, let's look to double that and get a little bit more fiber in there too. Is that it? Yeah, let's start there. You know what I mean? Let's focus on the big sort of rocks to begin with, and then we can start getting into more of the details of nutrition. But again, it's the simplicity of that sometimes, even though these are the big bedrocks of health, movement, nutrition, sleep. And then obviously supplements and hormones do play a role, especially, you know, going through menopause, but in general anyway. But yeah, I think it is the same in pretty much everything, but very much with people's health, they want that magic pill, they want that magic wand.
And there's so many things out there claiming to be that magic pill, isn't there?
Yes. But also there's so many excuses, like you say, cut the BS. You know, when you hear, well, I can't get that many steps. I can't get that protein in. It's limiting beliefs, and you've got to cut the BS on yourself with that rubbish. Because if it's a case of, well, I don't eat meat. Yeah, no, neither do I. I work long hours. Yes, so do I. I'm at my desk, 10 hours. Yes, so am I. What's the next one?
We've got a couple of bonus clips that aren't necessarily about weight loss, but we thought we'd share because this next clip across platforms got about 5 million views. And I always joke around because it is. I always joke around to Stacey and go, like every Friday this weekend, every Friday the clip would just explode with extra views. And I was like, Stacey, you've got a lot of extra people laid this weekend.
Yeah, but it is true. It's literal science. So if you are listening and you need a lion this weekend, then you know what to send to your partner.
Fun fact, every 1 hour of extra sleep for women increases their libido by 14%. Yeah,
very good.
So if there's any men listening and you need a reason to let your wife have a lion this weekend,
there's one.
There you go. I will give you evidence it does work. But yeah, it is one of those things where if you haven't had enough sleep, you're like, I can't even do the day. I don't want to deal with you as well.
Yeah.
And actually, there was a study by the University of Loughborough which shows that women do need more sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I think hormones, childbirth, pregnancy, just like there's like a whole flipping list of things that women have to go through that men don't. You know what I mean? Our hormones are much more regular in terms of like throughout the month and on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, like I sleep somewhere between 5 and 7 hours, maybe 7.5 hours a night max.
You're one of the stats.
I'm one of the stats, yeah. Versus like Steph will could sleep 2 hours more than me every single night.
Oh, me too. Easy. Yeah. 7's like, whoa, bare minimum. Whoa. The Loughborough study where it said that women need more.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, women definitely need more. There's clinical significance for 11 to 20 minutes of extra sleep. I was like, no. And you were like, no.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the reason is, the way they did the study was they just like tell people just go to bed whenever you feel like it and wake up whenever you feel like it, but with everything optimized. And that's what naturally happened. But it was the fact that poor sleep or lack of sleep had a bigger effect on women. I think that's what, like Steph and I experience is, okay, we can function with only 11 more minutes sleep than you, but we get more stressed about it. We have like more emotional impact from it. We make poorer decisions because of it, whereas the impact on men seems to be less. So they can have that 11 minutes less, but then go on and just run their day like normal, whereas we really feel it.
So on the sleep club there, I think sometimes, people can look at sleep as like it's bottom of the priority list and we just kind of put everything else above it. But, getting great sleep will quite literally change your life and it will improve your health markers massively. So it's right up there in terms of it should be higher on the priority list, and we just always trying to give people good, healthy reasons, like like a better sex drive to get more sleep.
Last but not least, we've got one which it's actually a bit of a Marmite clip. So we get loads of really lovely comments whenever.
Stacey, I don't know if everyone knows what Marmite is.
Oh, do they not have that in America?
No, that's a very British spread.
Well, it sounds really disgusting when you describe what it is, but it's a yeast extract. I had it last night actually on a bagel. It's very delicious. But people either love it or hate it. So that's what I meant by that. For those of you people who do not know what Marmite is, people either love or hate this clip. And I think it needs a little bit of context because Jaymie gets a lot of hate sometimes in the comments on this. But the message was really important, right?
Yeah, the message for me is just about, you know, we can all be guilty of labeling certain parts of our body that we don't like and approaching them with a negative attitude. But there's such a way where you can reframe all of those parts of your body to have more acceptance or more love or more empowerment. And that's very much what we were trying to do in this clip, or I was trying to do talking about Steph. But yeah, it's like you said, it's been a bit of a Marmite clip.
Like when you say thick fives save lives, I just instantly think of Steph. Like she's literally just got like natural big legs. She'll never have a thigh gap, ever. Never had one in her life. Everywhere we go, if she ever wears a dress, she has to wear shorts underneath. She'll get chub rub. Just literally just thighs are just rubbing constantly. And it's just like, she's just got genetically big legs. I like them, you know what I mean? Like some people might not like big legs, but that's cool. Like it's like you do you in like a lot of ways. And as long as it's not hurting anyone else and you're happy and content with yourself, I think that's ultimately what matters.
Yeah, and also she's strong.
She is very strong. Yeah. Very, very strong. Yeah.
I've got, my husband calls my legs ham-ons because they are also in the same category.
Yeah.
They're never going to be like stick thin, but you know, you just own it and you make it part of you.
Of course. Yeah. And that's, I think that's ultimately all you can do is just get into that place of acceptance. You know, your body at the end of the day is the greatest instrument you'll ever own. It's like, take care of it and it will take care of you in so many ways. And it's just like the way people speak to themselves, and I have been guilty of this in the past, you would never speak to anyone else like that. And you have to start addressing that internal voice if it's starting to get very loud and very negative. Because if you flip that and that voice starts to become a lot more positive, a lot more affirming about who you are and how you look, like that's going to show up in ways you probably can't even imagine with your confidence.
Actually, that's a really important point because there's something, I can't remember the actual numbers, but there is something in the psychology of our self-talk of you have to outweigh the negative. I'm sure it's like 5 to 1. It's something in that scope of your brain is always going to hyper-focus on the negative because that's how we've designed ourselves to survive through dangerous events. So it will seek out the negative. So for you to actually feel okay about yourself, you got to like crowd that out with positive. And that is really unnatural for us to do, to like hype ourselves up 5 times out of 6. And so it can feel a bit weird and a bit pretentious and a bit like woo-woo to stand there and be like, no, I do have really great legs and I absolutely love my toes. But actually you kind of need to do it and you have to like hack yourself into it.
Yeah, like if you find have really negative self-talk in the mirror, you know, start sticking some post-its on there and just make a point of start speaking to yourself more positively. Like you said, if that's at that 5 to 1 ratio, you've almost created your environment for you to win, you know, and we talk about this with all different parts of health and fitness, but it's also when it comes to body image and body acceptance and that, you know, creating that environment of success.
And there we have it, guys. That is the TLDR of our 100 episodes and 12 of our best bits. And honestly, if you take those 12 clips that are in there and you take one practical action, one action out of each one of them and start applying it to your life, you'll start to see such positive changes with your health, your overall well-being, and really start to see the needle move. And it's not going to happen overnight, but if you just zoom out a little bit more, flex that patience muscle over a couple of weeks, couple of months, and even a year, you'll really start to see your health transform in so many ways. I hope you enjoyed some of the best bits here. It's been a bit of a wild ride doing 100 episodes of the podcast, but it's been really enjoyable. We've had some fantastic feedback of everyone over the years of doing this, and there's so much more to come.
Yeah, we're really excited for 2025 and all the exciting guests that we're going to get booked in, all of the insights and topics that we're going to cover. And actually, if there is anything that you want us to cover, then definitely get in touch and let us know because we want to make content that is really useful and really important for you guys to know about.